Welcome back to another Fireside Chat, where we bring casual technology conversations to you. With us, I've got Lee Jolly, Solutions Architect.
Happy to be here.
Looking Point.
Yep.
Glad you're here.
Thanks.
We're talking data protection.
Yeah.
So what's new and exciting with data protection?
So data protection really, it encompasses the entire strategy around making sure that your data is available across multiple different scenarios. So essentially, it can encompass your backup software. It can encompass just your strategy that you've in place to making sure that the files are available in multiple locations, policies, written policies, just multiple different things that make up the entire data protection strategy for your company.
So I think one of the things that I've heard or I've seen is it's like data management, data protection. They're kind of almost synonymous with each other a little bit. Is that true or no?
It never used to be, as far as what I typically saw in this space. It was usually always a separate thing where you'd make your backup, and then that was the backup that was never touched unless you needed it. But more and more, we're seeing tools that are coming out now which are enabling people to do more with that backup software, mainly through having some really good search utilities, being able to search across all of your systems. So instead of having to keep records of where things are at one time, you have just one interface where you can just search for that file name and search across your entire infrastructure.
So this like change, I know we had tape backup offsite, and I think still a lot of customers still leverage that, but that movement of backup to disk and then disk to tape for offsite storage, and it sounds like now we're also getting disk to disk and disk to a data center or a cloud provider. Mm-hmm. What are some of the products that you see out there? What products are you excited about?
Well, we work with several, and Veeam is one of the initial ones that I started to really see as the next generation of backup software, and I do really still believe in that as a product. It's got a lot of really cool things from an engineering point of view that make it really easy to understand, and it just works. But moving kind of forward in another level, I'm seeing at the Rubrik as another backup provider, which is really kind of taking that API first, API-centric design, and IPv6 provisioning, and all of these new application design methodologies. And it really kind of enables that application to do a lot more. I kind of liken it to email back in the day. Could send text and pictures and everything just fine. And then when texting came out, like some people thought, like, why would I need to do that? And then when instant messaging and Facebook apps came out, like, why would I need to do that? It does the same thing as email. But the experience was so much better with these new design principles that it made it actually way more useful. It had a huge adoption over the initial older methodologies. That's kind of how I see backup today, is it solves the same problems, and you can actually still do a lot of the same things. You can do disk to disk on older software, but now you have to manage and design your scripting and all this process around it to do that, so no one actually does it. Rubrik, the design around that is kind of like these newer applications where they just are so easy to use that you will use it. You will get your backup to disk. You will do it to the cloud because it's a few clicks. Nice.
And it sounds like too, you mentioned policy management, and it sounds like that's becoming more of a benefit. Can you give us some?
Yeah, well, we're seeing that across the board, right? Networking, everywhere you look, it's all about policy-driven management. And really the number one reason for that, I think, is quality, making sure that you have that reproducible experience across the board. And that is especially important with backup, in that it's an application that is honestly not touched as much as a lot of the other things that we use. And so how do you ensure that quality in an application that you're not in very often? And one of the major ways to do that, the first really, is to create policies that are enforced, and then there's additional strategies that also these platforms can do, but that would involve things like testing those backups at periods and intervals. That is all automatable through API-driven applications through Rubrik. Veeam also does have a lot of built-in utilities to do those same kind of validations of the VMs. And that end-to-end, the backup to validation to ensure that your data is available is important. It's a step that was missing in a lot of the older platforms.
And so it seems like also with this policy, somebody's provisions a VM, the policy could see that that VM is provisioned and automatically start backing it up, right?
Yeah. That leads into a lot of the automation that's capable in these APIs, because you can tie it into other systems where you say, as soon as I provision this system, I also want to be backed up at this certain SLA. And it can become part of that rubric SLA automatically when you provision it and never have to fill out backup forms and ensure that that's added through another process. It's really just streamlining the way your IT system works.
Nice. So I think really automation, ease of use, those things are all are what's changing.
Yeah, as soon as you get that API into the interface, then everything becomes kind of programmatic.
Yeah.
And as an IT guy, you think, well, I'm not a developer. How can I take advantage of that? And really, what it really does is it enables other companies to integrate very easily with the product.
Got it.
And so you may not have to break up Postman and start learning your APIs, but because it's there, because the application is capable of it, it just makes integration with your other products so much easier.
So from a restore perspective, now kind of going from, identified a workload, we backed it up, policy did that. What's restore like in some of these newer platforms?
Well, if you just kind of juxtapose it with how it used to be, I mean, it would be spreadsheets usually to figure out where this was and at what time and date.
Tape AB617, yeah.
Yeah, and then again, it's an infrequent process. So going through this, it was a nightmare and sometimes never worked. I mean, there's been plenty of times with older backup solutions where you go to restore a file and it's just not there and you had no idea. So the newer systems, what they're really doing is giving you real clarity about what's happening and then getting you the analytics to make sure that it is happening. And with the API infrastructure, you can put that directly up to wallboard software, integrate it to anywhere you want, just to say, are my backups successful or not? Show me.
So with that data management, we've got point-in-time restores, the ability to search your data regardless of where it lives, in the cloud, on-premise, and endpoint. Having that ability to search that data and restore point in time is critical, especially with some of the security threats today. Again, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can email us at firesidechat@lookingpoint.com. Thanks for watching.
It's a fireside chat, y'all.